All right, here we are. It is Sunday, August 25th, a little later than expected. We're here with episode two of bracket coverage, double
Woo-hoo.
covering all the sports topic going on. Danny Maz, I'm here with Ryan. Ryan, how we feeling this Sunday?
Pretty solid. Good start to the football season with week 0 yesterday. I'm genuinely impressed with how all those games played out for the matchups that we were presented with.
I was genuinely impressed by realizing it's very entertaining to watch Pat McAfee drink. I just sat there and watched college football game day, which I don't usually do. I haven't been that into college football recently, and I watched it, and I was like, damn, he's having a good time. I forget who else. Seamus was there.
I
It was just a good time. It was fun to watch.
I wish I enjoyed Pat McAfee more, and also like I think Nick Saban is cool. This I feel like I'm gonna have the same opinion on Nick Saban on game day as like Bill Belichick on like I forget what network he's on now, but like he is signed to a
Yeah,
network for the NFL.
I
I
agree.
feel like I'm gonna have the exact same opinion on them. Like they're gonna provide insight, but then anything else they talk about where you don't give them like enough time to give like a long-winded deep dive like explanation like thorough explanation like football mind explanation where they like kind
Uh-huh.
of like you like nerd out with that shit. It's just like they have no energy. It's like very monotone, very boring. It's just not
Yeah,
great television to me. Uh,
I, I can
Sucks the
see
juice
that.
out of it a little bit. I don't know. Saban was so like I was kind of disappointed in what I saw from Saban in the first week in Ireland.
But I feel like it does kind of like balance out when you have a Pat McAfee who just comes with this energy and like pretty unfiltered and everything, it just comes out. I think from an entertainment standpoint, he brings the entertainment, and you have kind of Nick Saban as like a specialist. He knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's watching more than anybody else.
I just wish they gave him more opportunity to like do that. But like the style
It
of the
just
show
yeah,
doesn't really allow for that. I feel
yeah,
like, which is unfortunate, but
I agree. But jumping in to college football and more, we're gonna start with NFL a little bit before we go on to college football. Jahan Dotson traded to the Eagles for a couple picks. The Eagles also did get a pick in return. You know me. Everyone knows me at this point. I don't hide it. I'm excited about this. I'm excited about the Eagles this year in general, and I think when you have Jahan Dotson as a third option, you have to cover AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. You have to cover. Why am I blanking on his name? I almost said Zach Ertz.
Dallas
Oh
Goddard.
my God. Yeah, Goddard. Jeez. You have to cover Dallas Goddard, and then you have Saquon coming out the backfield. You have Jalen Hurts that can just take it himself. You have a very good offensive line. There's so many weapons all around the field. You throw Jahan Dotson into that, I think he's going to be perfect in this role, and I think he's just going to have a great year. And I think the Eagles are going to have a great year. I mean, again, I've said it a bunch of times, and I might even be overly excited about this Eagles team, but I think moves like this only makes me feel more confident going into the season and more excited going into the season.
I would say you're even selling him a little high. I saying he's wide receiver 3 is true, but like he's not even third option. He's probably the fifth or even sixth option at this point, which honestly is way better for him. His first season in Washington, he was super efficient, 7 touchdowns in 12 games. I think he had like 26 first downs on 35 catches, over 500 yards. I think the most realistic take I saw on this that I would kind of lean to agree with is that someone said that good players don't get traded to division rivals, like in division. Um, and I don't think he's necessarily an awful player. I don't think he's a bad player. They gave up a third round pick for him. Like, that's not pocket change. Um, I expect of anyone to take a player like Jahan Dotson, former 16th overall pick, produced his rookie season. Honestly, if you
Out
just
of
look at
Penn State,
if you look at box score, he wasn't even that bad by the box score last year. I think watching him and actually seeing him on the field is a completely different story. But I trust the Eagles to take a guy like that and mold him and develop him and as the fifth option on an offense, like allow him to be that efficient chain mover, work in the red zone. He's got great hands and he's a smaller body, which is really surprising. You don't really think of those two together in terms of like contested catches, making catches at tough angles and stuff like that. He's a good player. I'm excited to see him in Philly. They've struggled to find a third wide receiver who's been even remotely competent the last couple years since they brought in AJ Brown. So shout
Why?
out Zach Pascal, by the way.
What was wrong with the Olamide Zacchaeus, bro?
I love
What's your beef?
Olamide Zacchaeus. I got no beef with him. I got no
What's
beef.
your beef with him, bro?
No beef. Falcons
You don't think
legend.
he's a solid? You don't think he's a solid third receiver?
Falcons legend. Hails from New Jersey too, by the way.
Yeah. Yep. South Jersey, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Classic. Moving on. More NFL news or news to come. Rams are allowing Ernest Jones the fourth to seek a trade. What do you think?
Ernest Jones is a really good player. When I saw this, I was pretty surprised. I anyone who's trading for him is probably trading for him to be their number one inside linebacker. Like he's probably getting the green dot out the gate. I expect the Rams to be favorable to him and allow him to get traded somewhere before the first game of the season, so they have a week. He's a really good player. He can play all three downs. Not to be homerish or anything like that, I think he would be perfect for Philly because
I was gonna say that. That was my next question.
You got a lot of inexperienced guys. The room is full, but it's full of inexperience. And then Devin White, who is experienced, can't play all three downs.
Yeah.
And he's really good downhill. He can blitz. He can rush the passer. He's excellent in coverage. Well, maybe not excellent in coverage, but he's better than Devin White in coverage. I'll tell you that right now. He's a really good player. I didn't really think too much about other destinations. I think people mentioned Carolina if they want to still compete. They continue to flip that defense. Yeah, really good player. Kind of surprised, but I guess the Rams don't want to pay an inside linebacker top dollar.
It's also, like you said, for Philly. Again, I'm obviously showing my bias a lot right now, but they're in win now mode, and they've clearly showed that they're buyers in the market. They just went out and got Dotson, for example, and in the draft they were very heavily on the secondary and just defense in general. What they didn't get, they buckled down on the defensive backs. You got why am I blanking on it? Quinyon Mitchell. You've got oh my god, I'm blanking on all these names. You
White
know
boy.
who I'm trying to say. The white cornerback.
Cooper DeJean.
Oh my god, DeJean Cooper DeJean. There we go. Why am I blanking? Oh my god, I need an energy drink or something. I don't know. But what they didn't get, which was a very big concern, was linebackers. And, magically, there's now a linebacker on the market. And I think that works very well. I think you made a good point with Devin White. Him to me, I have a bad feeling he's going to be a lot like what James Bradbury has been last year. Where it's like you kind of see him out there and you get a little pissed off.
Hold your breath a little bit.
It's like, damn it.
Yeah. They did get Jalix Hunt, but he's an edge, and he's like a pure edge guy, athletic freak. And Jeremiah Trotter later in the draft, but I don't see any really road to him playing other than special teams. I would love
for Jeremiah Trotter to, become this amazing player for Philly.
Good story.
But at the end of the day, I think the last name has a huge part in him being drafted.
Like the thing I see with this is if the Eagles are willing to spend a third round pick on Jahan Dotson, who the Commanders were about to cut, I don't see how you wouldn't try to buy Ernest Jones when this is probably the best roster they've had since the Super Bowl win. Maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a couple other teams that are buyers. I probably should have looked into those. I feel bad. I'd say Cardinals again. I mentioned them with Hassan Reddick. I'd say Carolina. Those were kind of the first two that came to my mind.
I'm going to flip this whole thing on its head. All right. This is our new segment. We didn't talk about this. We didn't plan this, but I'm making this a segment. Let's compare the 2017 Eagles to the 2024 Eagles. How do you think they match up? Which is the better offense? I want to stick with offense. Offensive weapons. So, let's go down the line. Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz. 2017 Carson Wentz versus 2024 Jalen Hurts. Which do you feel better
Well, but
about?
like, are we doing Super Bowl team? Because if Nick Foles is the quarterback, I'm not picking Nick Foles.
I'm gonna go with Carson Wentz. We're gonna go as if it's going into that season.
Also, the unfortunate thing here is, like, I can only factor in Kellen Moore with the Cowboys and Chargers. I can't factor what I know with him with the Eagles because they haven't played a
I,
game yet.
I'm talking strictly personnel,
Okay, okay.
the offensive personnel. Do you think talent wise and what he could do with the football? Do you think Jalen Hurts is better than 2017 Carson Wentz?
I think 2017 Carson Wentz would run this offense like an absolute machine.
Yeah, I think it would be a well-oiled machine. I think
Yeah.
it'd be unreal. I'm really big on Jalen
Or
Hurts.
be 2018 maybe? I think it's 2018. Because wasn't
What?
2017 his rookie year?
2017 was the year they won because they won it in February 2018.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So it was
Um,
the year 2018, but it was a 2017 season.
yeah, 2017-18 season
Yeah.
for technical reasons. Mr. Grammar Police over here won't let me get away with saying
I wasn't sure.
2017.
I literally wasn't sure. I just
I'm
didn't
messing with you.
remember.
I'm
I
messing
literally
with you.
just didn't remember.
No, 2017 season. So you're taking Carson Wentz, and I agree with you. Running back, who would we call RB1 that year? LeGarrette Blunt?
Yeah,
LeGarrette
probably.
Blunt versus Saquon?
There's no way you can't take Saquon.
Yeah.
But
It's
then
it's
if
it's
you
tough
stack it
because of the
up,
role.
yeah, if you stack it up, Saquon and Kenneth Gainwell versus Blunt, Ajayi, and Corey Clement, it's a little closer. But I
A little
still
closer.
probably would take Saquon.
I think so too. I agree with that. All right, let's go to wide receivers. The legend, the one and only Nelson Aguilar or AJ Brown.
Well, Alshon Jeffrey was wide receiver one.
Oh, you're right. Alshon Jeffrey was wide receiver one.
Alshon Jeffrey
So
was
would you take
nice, but there's no way I'm taking Alshon over AJ Brown.
yeah.
No
And
way.
then here would be Nelson Aguilar versus Devonta Smith.
Not even close either.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
wide receiver 3 is Torrey Smith versus Jahan Dotson.
And who do you take there?
That's a little closer.
That's one's closer
That's a lot
actually.
closer. I honestly might take Torrey Smith.
I think I'll take Torrey Smith
I'd probably
too.
take Torrey Smith
And maybe that's just because I haven't seen
on the
Dotson for
Eagles.
the
Yeah.
Eagles yet.
Yeah.
But I will slightly take Torrey Smith. And here's actually, I don't think this is too close. Zach Ertz versus
Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz.
yeah, it's
Not
Zach
even.
Ertz
I don't think
by
it's
a
that
lot.
close at all.
2017 Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
I agree. And then
This
that's it for the
offensive line or
offense.
that offensive line? Probably that offensive line
That
because they
offensive
still had
line, I
Jason
think.
Kelsey on the team.
Yeah, yeah. Losing Jason Kelsey is definitely big. I mean, still a good offensive line this year.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right.
Oh, yeah.
2017 wipes. Everyone was younger too.
Yup.
That's a big factor.
Dude, Lane Johnson is old as hell now.
Yeah, still kicking. I saw him in a commercial yesterday, and I was like, wow. He's gonna be like the Philly Shaquille O'Neal in a couple of years.
Oh, yeah.
Just doing
100%.
every commercial ever.
100%.
Lane Johnson, the commercial I saw, I was watching. I think it was a Phillies game, and he turns and he's like, "I donate. Do you?" Dude, I fucking pulled out my phone to donate so fast. I chipped in like $2.
I'm not even going to lie. If Lane Johnson played basketball, he'd actually be a freak.
He would be insane.
He'd be actually ridiculous.
If he wasn't a professional athlete, he's also someone I would not walk on the same side of the street with.
Didn't he run like a 4.640?
You're better with that stuff than
Like
me.
it was something ridiculous.
I'll agree with you because I'm.
I
assuming
think
you
it was.
are.
I think it was like a mid 4.6, and he's probably 290 something pounds.
Yeah,
maybe even
he's a
300
big boy.
pounds.
He's a big boy.
Absolute freak.
He is a freak of nature. He's an athletic beast. Jump in. Talking about combine, we're gonna shift back to college football. I enjoyed that little conversation. I liked that little plug and play
Little blast
for
in
us.
the past, yeah. Might have
I'm
to
gonna
do that
bring
with
up
the Falcons down the road.
maybe that's an idea. I like it. Talking about your teams now.
Yep.
If that's what we're talking about, this Thursday at SHI Stadium, Rutgers hosts Howard. Rutgers are favored in the spread at minus 37.5. And the over-under is set at 47.5. What are your thoughts? Take it away.
I'm gonna rant about Mohamed Touré getting injured real quick, and by rant, I'll keep it brief. Um, I'm like so mad. It was the most frustrating thing ever. I hate opening my phone and go opening Twitter and seeing bad news on my timeline. It pisses me off to no end. Uh,
Yeah,
like it's like I think it was 9 days out from the start of the season, and the best defensive player on the team tears ACL second time. We don't know if it's the same ACL or not. He tore his ACL 2 years ago. He came back from that ACL and was a comeback player of the year semifinalist for the country. He was an All Big Ten honorable mention at linebacker. His position versatility is probably the best in the Big Ten for any linebacker. He plays off the ball. He rushes off the edge. Any year he's played a full season, he has 4.5 sacks, which is just model consistency. And he was way better in coverage this past season as well off the ball with Tyreen Powell. I'm so upset. I don't think this contributes to missing out on a win or two. I think some people are exaggerating with that. I just don't think losing one linebacker contributes that significantly to your team losing. It could. Maybe it does. But they have some depth there with Dariel Jabomi, who played an edge role as a freshman. So I think whenever they'd move Teray down, they'd have Jabomi come in. Whenever he's playing off the ball, they'd bring in the sophomore Moses Walker, who has not played too much, but he was a highly touted recruit. And then you saw Abram Wright a little bit in the bowl game last year, was pretty good against Miami. I'm just really upset about it. It sucks. Tyreen Powell's coming back from injury as well, so you probably won't see them too much in these first two games, Powell at least, against Howard and Akron. But in terms of the actual game, over under 50 points for an FCS game against a Power 5 opponent is pretty low, and the spread is, about what you'd expect,
yeah,
almost 40 points. Shiano in these types of games, he wants to get younger guys reps. He doesn't care about running up the score. He wants to get out of there without injuries. If he wins this game 28-7, I don't think he would care. I don't think he'll win the game 28-7. It'll probably be 42-10 if I had to guess, something along those lines. Howard is not a terrible FCS team at all. They're one of the better ones. I think they got two players in the NFL this year. They have a running back. I can't remember his name. I think he might be with the Bears. Really good player. Happy they don't have to play him. At 6 p.m. on a Thursday is a pretty interesting first game of the year.
yeah.
Should be a nice day. Should be a nice evening. Yeah,
Well, especially I know Rutgers move-in is like Tuesday or something,
Yeah.
or like Wednesday. So I mean, I guess it'll be cool for freshmen, but it's also you're really shoving him into the fire. I mean, the fire isn't really Howard, but
Yeah, for the out of conference games, you get Howard, you get Akron, and then obviously you get Virginia Tech, which is not a game Shiano would ever schedule. He doesn't want to play 10 power conference games when you're in the Big Ten. I'm excited for the Virginia Tech game, but I don't think we're ever going to see an opponent like that on the schedule ever again for the out of conference. That was a Chris Ash game, so he's still lingering in the program, unfortunately. But yeah, that was maybe a little longer winded than I wanted, but
side note, this is a terrible side note. This is a bad sidebar right now. Just letting you know. The word linger immediately, it's like a curse. It just plays the song "Linger" in my head. You said lingering, and that song just lingers now. That's all I have to say. That was a really stupid thing to share. Cool. Moving on from my random sidebars that make no sense. Friday, Temple University, ready to go. The Owls are fired up, and that fire will be put out by number 16 Oklahoma Sooners at Memorial Stadium. Oklahoma is the spread is set at 42.5, of course, in favor of Oklahoma, and the over/under is set at 60.5, and it's another year of Temple football. That's all I have to say. I have my shirt on today, Temple football. I represent. I love 2-win teams.
SEC teams have no mercy in these games.
Yeah.
I'd honestly be kind of surprised if Oklahoma didn't score 60 themselves.
Yeah, that was I was gonna say that. Well, I'd be surprised if Temple scores a touchdown. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Former Big 12 team Oklahoma, not known for their defense exactly, but
At Temple University, never actually. It's been a few years since they've been known for offense. I
yeah.
miss PJ Washington or PJ Walker.
PJ
That's the
Washington.
second. That's the
That
second
is the second.
time.
You love that. You love the NBA. You want to talk about the NBA so bad.
Yeah, can you tell I'm ready, bro? Oh my god, that is the second time I've named a player in football and accidentally
Said an NBA player.
just
I'm
mentioned an
dead.
NBA player.
That's
That
so
is
funny.
actually
That's
hilarious.
great.
Whatever. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. For these two games, just for our teams, I don't think there's too much to preview. They should.
Yeah, I mean,
Hopefully, they should be uninteresting. If they're not uninteresting, that's a good thing for Danny, and it's a bad thing for me.
yeah,
Uh, I'm gonna circle back to Thursday. Two good matchups on tap at 8 p.m. UNC at Minnesota is the second of a home and home. Minnesota played at UNC last year and lost. I'm looking at Amarion Hampton, maybe the best running back in the country, who was really the only help for Drake May at all last year, versus Darius Taylor, who was a true freshman for Minnesota last year, got injured after just a handful of games. I think he had 600 yards in like 5 or 6 games. He was probably on his way to being the best running back in the Big Ten in terms of yardage, and then he got injured. PJ Fleck loves running the football. He's had quarterback issues there. I want to say they have an FCS transfer is their projected starter again. I think people are fairly high on Minnesota as a team this year. And UNC, obviously, you lose Drake May, top 3 draft pick. I think the jury is still out on them.
yeah.
Really good matchup between two running backs there. Excited to see that one. And then North Dakota State at Colorado, probably the number one hate watch of the year for the entire country. The best FCS school going up against Deion Sanders and his son and Travis Hunter. I think people are forgetting how actually talented these guys are because they just like to take all the context around the team and talk about that. As important as that still is, I don't know if Colorado's a good team. I knew they weren't a good team last year, but Shadur Sanders and Travis Hunter are very good players. They obviously can load up in the portal, and they did that again. North Dakota State, no one should ever want to schedule those games against any team with a Dakota in it. um, those are death trap games. They're known for upsetting a team like every other year, maybe. Yeah, look out for that game. That should be a fun one.
All right, and then jumping to Friday, back to Friday. Do you have any games that you'd like to highlight on Friday?
I got another pair of games. FAU at Michigan State. It's the first game for head coach Jonathan Smith coming over from Oregon State. He brought quarterback Aiden Childs and tight end Jack Velling along with him. Velling probably I think Velling is on the Mackey preseason watch list. And that actually makes me think of SMU tight end RJ Maryland, who absolutely destroyed Nevada in the fourth quarter. We didn't really touch on the week 0 games. Maybe we will after when we get to Florida State at the end
Yeah.
here, but that just popped in my head. I completely forgot about that. Yeah, I'm not sold on Michigan State. They do have a good running back duo, Nate Carter and Kayron Lynch Adams, who returns to the Big Ten. Former Rutgers running back. I really wish he never left. FAU is a solid team. Joined the American. Were they in the American this year already? Was it the first year this past
FAU,
season?
yeah, yeah. This past year they were in the American.
So this is the second year in the American. They're a solid team. They're not, they're not UTEP or Temple.
Watch it, pal. You're on
And
thin
then
ice right now.
and then 10:30, we got some former Pac-12 after dark. TCU at Stanford, the new ACC school, ACC power Stanford. Alec Ayomanor had 300 yards against Travis Hunter in that 29-0 comeback last year. Over 1,000 yards as a true freshman, one of the best receivers in the country as a true sophomore. And TCU got a bounce back. They did not even make a bowl game last year after getting blown out in the national championship the year before. Sonny Dykes is a really good coach. I don't think TCU has any reason to lose this game.
All right, jump into Saturday. I have a couple games. Everyone has these games actually. It's not just me.
Yeah,
Everyone's gonna be watching these games.
I'm really happy they made the schedule like this. We get at least
Yeah.
one like super all eyes on for each time slot. Honestly, good scheduling. I was a little impressed when I first looked at the schedule this year with this.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun day on Saturday. We're gonna have first. I'll start out with number one in the land. Georgia facing number 14 Clemson. And the Clemson Tigers are trying to upset in Georgia at Athens on Saturday. And, Georgia lost a couple key players, but obviously Georgia is Georgia, Alabama's Alabama. All these SEC schools, they don't have to worry about talent coming in and out. UGA is favored 13 and a half points in the spread, and the over-under is set at 48 and a half.
I was gonna say if there's a year where Georgia isn't losing significant players, I'd think the sky is falling.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, absolute factory. I mean, there's teams that do it as well. It's not just Georgia, but at least recently, I can't remember a team that consistently puts so many players into the league year after year, and like
Yeah.
quality players too. It's not like, you know, day three picks that are like
Hmm.
seniors who stuck around. It's they're cranking out Broderick Jones, who played maybe started 7 games at Georgia, and he's the 18th overall pick. Like,
Yeah.
no, not Broderick Jones, Amarius Mims. My bad. Broderick Jones was the year before. Uh, yeah, Cade Klubnik, he. It's the same thing with DJ Uyunglele, where people saw DJ against Notre Dame a few years ago in one game, and everyone thought he was the next. He was the next guy. Didn't end up working out. He jumped ship. And Cade Klubnik, same thing with DJ. Uh, I think he was the first ranked quarterback in his class. Played a little bit as a true freshman. Showed a decent bit last year. I'm still not sold on him. I don't think he's the tier of quarterback that Clemson has had in the past, obviously with Trevor Lawrence and Deshaun Watson. Carson Beck is maybe the best quarterback in this class, which I think is surprising to a lot of people. If you told anyone that a few years ago, I don't think they would believe you. And they get Travis Etienne. No, Trevor Etienne. I always mix up their names. They get Trevor Etienne from Florida. Fun little revenge game, kind of, not really, for the brother of the former Clemson running back.
So, what do you think about how the spread is in favor of UGA, 14 points?
That seems reasonable to me. I'm not high on any ACC team after seeing Florida State. I
Yeah.
still think there's a good chance Clemson wins the ACC, just because Dabo
Mhm.
is Dabo.
Of course.
He's stuck in his ways, but he's still a good coach.
Who do you have covering the spread?
I think Georgia will cover, but I could see a world where it's like a 10-point game late, and maybe they get a pick six and it goes up to 17, and they end up
Mhm.
cover. I think Georgia will cover, but I think maybe the score could be, or the game could be closer than the score would indicate. It kind of feels like one of those kind of games to me.
Yeah. Okay. And then over under 48 and a half. What do you think?
Probably under.
Okay.
It's easier to
I
play
like those
defense to
picks.
start the season, and Georgia's Georgia with their defense, and Clemson's always going to play
Yeah.
defense. I would trust these defenses over the offenses in week one.
Can we get a score prediction out of you?
The game is so significant, I got to give one. I'll say 24-13.
24 to 13. Okay. I like that. Next game, moving on. We're moving on to West Virginia, who is hosting number 8 Nittany Lions at noon on Saturday. So I think with this game, home field could be a big thing.
Oh yeah.
But for Penn State to start the season out, they're starting out ranked and they're going to start in West Virginia, which is a great crowd, a great school. PSU was favored, but I could see an upset here. I could see an upset here. PSU is favored 8.5 points in the spread, and the over under is 49 and a half.
It's the return game of a home and home from last year. I think it's basically the exact same situation, just flipped. Like the home field advantage is pretty much the difference here. Um, and it's Garrett Green versus Drew Aller again. And I honestly liked the development I saw from Garrett Green throughout the year a lot more than what I saw from Drew Aller. I actually think Garrett Green is a better player than Drew Aller at this point. Um, I'm going to give West Virginia the quarterback advantage. They have the home field advantage. They were fairly competitive last year. Penn State kind of ran away with it in the fourth quarter. Um, I think I like a West Virginia upset here as well.
Here we go. Now we're getting we're getting locked in now. What do you think about? So we know the spread. What do you think about the over under being set at 50? What do you think?
That's fairly reasonable. Last year it was 38-15, so that's over 50. That's 53.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if West Virginia can win a game that's higher scoring than like 31-24. So that would be over, but
But you're
I
thinking like right on the cusp. You think it's
yeah,
going to be
it'll
close with
it'll
the
be
over under?
close. I don't think they can win. I was gonna say I don't
A
think they.
shootout.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think they can win a shootout, but I actually don't know if Penn State can win a shootout because I don't trust their offense. They lost a lot of receivers. They still have Drew
Yeah.
Allers, their quarterback. They're gonna want to run the ball, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, because they did not really commit to that last year when they really should have. Um, so yeah, I'm actually gonna flip it. I don't think Penn State can win a shootout. I actually might go over. I literally just changed my mind. What's
Yeah, I
31-24? 55?
31-24, 55. Yeah, you're right.
Give me that. West Virginia.
Give me that.
Go
Um,
Mountaineers.
I don't know about that, but
I hate Penn State. Out on Penn State.
yeah.
I'll never
Hey,
be in on Penn
what
State.
does Rutgers say on third down? Anyways, moving on.
Ugh.
We're heading south. Um, Miami versus Florida. That one is going to be at Florida.
In the
So the
swamp.
Hurricanes face off against the Gators. Miami is favored 2.5 points in the spread. Miami is ranked 19 overall. I forgot to mention that. And the over under is set at 55.5. What do you think? What's your reaction to that?
The swamp is a significant advantage. Honestly, if this was at Miami, I'd be interested to see the crowd because Miami football has pulled piss poor crowds with Cristobal before Cristobal got there. Really, just recently at all. I think them being at Hard Rock is rough for Miami fans getting out there. Now, when they're good, I don't think it would be a problem at all. But Miami fans want to see an elite program. They don't want to see a middling program who's losing to Rutgers in a bowl game. Um, I I have serious questions about Billy Napier still. They still have Graham Mertz at quarterback, who was efficient last year, but is still not a great quarterback, in my opinion. Miami brings in Cam Ward for $2 million from Washington State. He's a significant edge at quarterback. I also don't trust Cristobal as a coach either. I'm really interested to see here. I think this is probably a game where talent just trumps everything because I have questions about the coaching. I think the home field advantage is significant for Florida State, but I think I might roll with Cam Ward here. I'm not in on Miami at all, but I think I'm gonna lean Miami anyway.
Okay. All right. I like it. Moving on. Texas A&M is hosting number 7 ranked Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, and Texas A&M is favored. Texas A&M is also ranked 20 in the nation right now. Texas A&M is favored 2.5 points in the spread, and the over/under is set at 50.
Notre Dame starts the year ranked top 10 basically every season, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
They're independent for football. You can say what you want about their schedule all the time. Usually, it comes down to the best opponents on their schedule. That those are the most significant games. Do you win them? Do you lose them? Are you 11-1 or are you 10-2 with a loss to a good team and a middling team that you just have to force on your schedule because you're independent? With a 12-team playoff, they're probably going to get in no matter what. I just don't see a world where they lose 2 games and don't get in. They bring in Leonard from Duke. I want to say Riley Renard for some reason. Riley Renard. I did it again.
Oh
Okay,
my god.
pause.
All right, regroup.
I'll probably cut this out, but if not,
Usa.
they bring in Riley Leonard from Duke, who got injured in the game against Notre Dame last year. He is very solid. They have Mitchell Evans, who's probably the unanimous selection to win the Mackey Award this year, at least preseason. He'd probably be number 1 on the list. And Texas A&M, they finally got rid of Jimbo Fisher and his godforsaken contract. Whoever his agent is, props to them because you just got this man sitting on the beach in Cancun for the rest of his life. He's never leaving. They bring in Mike Elko from Duke as well. A lot of Duke crossover here,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny. And they have the home field advantage. College Station is a pretty solid home field advantage. Usually Texas A&M has disappointed with Jimbo, where they bring in historic recruiting classes, they bring in historic transfer classes, and they usually fall flat. I think Elko is a significantly better coach than Jimbo. I don't think that's really a question. I think the home field advantage is significant here. I'd give a slight lean to Texas A&M, but I'm not entirely out on Notre Dame like I am in years past.
So I would say basically what you're saying is that the spread is fair.
Yeah,
Putting Texas A&M at the spread, -2.5. I think it's pretty accurate and pretty much encapsulates, what the situation is. Notre Dame for, a lot of the reason is just because they're the Fighting Irish will always be relevant.
yeah.
Eh, You know, that's just how it is, and I think it'll be. I think this will be one of the more fun games of this week. It doesn't have the big. I mean, it does actually. Number 7 in the nation. It's not quite Georgia Clemson or the other game we're probably about to talk about, but it is going to be exciting.
I'm interested to see if there's like a what's the word I'm trying to think of, like a tangible change in how Texas A&M plays football, with coaching versus just trying to rely on talent like they were doing with Jimbo. Um, Speaking of talent, starting receiver for Texas A&M is Moose Muhammad III, and he's actually the son of Musin Muhammad. Uh, I thought that was really cool. Musin Muhammad was sick in Carolina.
Hmm.
And also Moose is an awesome name, and he's the
Yeah,
third
that is.
Moose in their family. That's
That's
insane.
sick. That's
That's
sick.
sick.
That's that's a fun tidbit. I like that. All right, jumping into Sunday, we have number 13 ranked LSU versus number 23 ranked USC Trojans. They are playing in Las Vegas. LSU is favored 4.5 points on the spread and 66.5 points on the over under. Ryan?
I I like this yearly tradition of the Vegas game on Sunday. This is the one Sunday that college football gets to itself, until the NFL games start up.
Yeah.
Any game with LSU, I think the last 2 or 3 years since Jaden Daniels has been there, I think the over under is like guaranteed to be 60 or more. So 66 over under is not surprising to me in the slightest. We know how absolutely disastrous USC's defense was with Alex Grinch calling plays. My God, I feel so bad for Caleb Williams. like that's
This
like
is
that is
talking
that
about shootouts earlier. Like, this is going to be a shootout.
that defense was punishable by death, I swear to God. Like that was a crime to humanity and Caleb Williams. Mainly
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, but
Mostly Caleb Williams. It's tough.
yeah. uh Garrett Nussmeyer, new quarterback for LSU. He's been there. He played a little bit last year for Jaden Daniels. I want to say he mainly played that bowl game when Daniels sat out. A lot of weapons gone. Obviously, Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels are gone. They've kind of had a revolving door at running back for a while. Mason Taylor, the tight end, also. I'm talking a lot of tight ends today.
Yeah. Big tight end guy.
Mackey watch list. Mason Taylor. Um, he's really good. Flipping over to USC side, just sneaking in the top 25. I think USC, you have to put him in the top 25 with Lincoln Riley and just the sheer amount of talent they get every single year.
Yeah.
Obviously, they replace Alex Grinch. Thank God. Um, they just named Miller Moss the starting quarterback, somewhat unsurprisingly. And the key guy I'm looking at on offense is Zachariah Branch, who was a significant contributor last year, used a lot in the return game, kind of gadget player. I think he can be a lot more than that. I think he could be a very good receiver. I would probably take the over in this game, like shoe it in, lock it up.
All right. I like it. And then we're going to jump over to Monday. Seminoles of Florida State hosting
Back in action.
Boston College. they're gonna be happy to be back on American soil. I don't think we need to cover this Boston College game too much. I think FSU is gonna win. Who do you think is gonna win that game?
Yeah, I mean, I Florida State has to be the happiest team in the world to be at home for this return game. Back in Tallahassee, they could not handle Georgia Tech's running game, and Georgia Tech kind of just kept lining up and running the football. Um, Haynes King made some big time throws to keep him honest, especially in the second half, but they struggled with him on the ground. They struggled with Jamal Haynes on the ground. I think they're going to struggle with Thomas Castellanos and Kai Robichaux a lot with Boston College, who were really good at the end of last year. Castellanos threw for over 2,000 yards and ran for over 1,000 yards. I think Florida State will win, and I think they'll win handedly. But there might be some moments where you're sweating it out a little bit because you got this little 5'11" quarterback running like his hair is on fire.
5'11" is pretty tall.
Comparatively or relatively.
I think
To
that's
some
going to be a
people.
weekly. I think it's going to be a weekly thing for us to just to stop and talk about how we're short. We're gonna make
Which
a couple of short Kings references on this show.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned this to you. I'd rather be 5'10" than 5'11". Do you agree?
Yeah, because no one believes you say 5'11".
11, you're lying. They
Yeah,
think
they're
you're
like,
lying.
oh yeah, we're sure, bro. But you say 5'10", it's like it's just a nice number too. 5 times 2 is 10. 5'10", I don't know, rolls off the tongue.
And then in the same light, if you're 5'11", you're probably gonna lie and say you're 6 foot, but they know you're gonna say you're 6 foot, so they know you're lying.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
lose lose situation if you're 5'11".
5'11" is a rough. Even 6 flat. If you're just 6 foot, that's probably not
That's a little
fun
unfortunate.
too.
Like if you're
Yeah,
6 foot, why don't you just grow a little bit and be tall? Like
yeah,
six
just
foot is
like
like almost not even tall. We're the
yeah.
last people to speak on this subject.
I was gonna say we cannot be, but I will say this. Um, just we're gonna forget about football for a second, I guess. Great artists are short. You got Kendrick Lamar, who's very short. You have Uzi, who's very short, and one of my favorite artists who had a quote on Twitter, I think, about being short. He was talking about he'd hate to be tall. Mac Miller was 5'6". My height, 5'6". It's a good height to be. And he said, I would hate to be tall, like not being able to fit through spaces and stuff, like
I
having
agree.
to duck your head a lot. It sounds like something that wouldn't be fun. And I'm like, yeah, that's Mac Miller. That's my dog, man. R.I.P.
Your Fortnite skin, Bruno Mars too, 5'5".
You're right. You're right. I do use the Bruno Mars skin, and he is also a very short man who people used to say. I feel like I don't really look like him that much right now, but used to say that I look like him.
Did you hear that rumbling in my background or no? Was
No,
that
I
just
did
me?
not.
Okay, because I kind of just freaked out for a second. I thought something fell, like off my desk. I think something was being moved upstairs. That freaked me out a little bit. Okay.
It happens. Rolling back to talk about sports, double coverage in all, all the sports happenings in the world. Unless it's baseball, because then Ryan doesn't want to talk about
I'm literally deafening.
it. Side note: a couple minutes ago, the Phillies won a baseball game, and their
That's
catchers are
big.
hitting amazing right now. I just want to throw that in.
That's big.
Go Phils!
Go Phils.
Roll Tide!
I have my Eagles Phillies hat somewhere.
I like that hat a lot.
I
That's a
look
nice hat.
I don't want to take these posters down, so I low key want to get like a shelf or like two shelves or something like in between them, so I could put like a hat or like a record on it or
Yeah,
something.
that
Just like a
that'd be
little thing.
sick.
I don't know.
I wish I had my room set up where I could like have my records or something back here.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't really have
Whatever.
anywhere good to put my records, to be honest.
Yeah, it happens. I think I like my setup right now. But mentioning pro sports, Ryan, you had a question for me for us to talk about, and I really liked it a lot. It's our second segment today. Would you like to present that question?
This was this. I could not explain why this popped into my head a couple weeks ago because the football season didn't even start, and I think maybe preseason games just started. Um, my philosophical question of the day in the football world: do upsets exist in the NFL? Because I would dare to say that they don't.
I would dare to say that you're wrong, and they happen. They do happen. And would
Uh,
you like to give your defense first?
yeah, sure. Um, so I got some anecdotal examples first. I'll start super surface level, and then I'll absolutely grill your shit later. Um, Last season, Super Bowl winner Chiefs. They lose to the Broncos 24-9. The year before that, the Eagles, runner up in the Super Bowl. They lose to the Commanders when they're 8-0. The year before that, the Buffalo Bills, AFC Championship Buffalo Bills, the 13-2 Buffalo Bills, if you will. They lose to the 2-win Jacksonville Jaguars. Josh Allen beat Josh Allen pretty bad in that game. Um, and then the year before that, the infamous Rams and Jets, the number one overall pick Sam Darnold stuff. What a game that was.
Trojans. Shout out USC.
Frank Gore on the Jets, by the way. Wow.
Okay.
So those I would consider upsets, but my or actually, you know, let me rephrase that. You could consider those upsets. I do not because they happen every year to every good team. It's not, you know, it's not a comet flying across the sky that you see once every 100 years. It happens with regularity. It happens every single year. These are professional football teams who can also beat other professional football teams. That's my
Okay.
first defense.
Well, you know how to refute an argument. I'll tell you what, because you built up my argument and brought it down. So I'll say this: I agree with you that those things happen every year. Last year, there was a time where both the Eagles and 49ers were undefeated, and within hours of each other, they both lost their first games to teams no one expected. The Browns, led by PJ Walker,
Yes.
Temple legend. Here we go.
Go Owls.
And go Owls. Browns were 2-2 going into that game. And like I mentioned, 49ers were undefeated. A few hours later, Eagles lost to the 2-3 Jets without Aaron Rodgers. Um, I do think it's an upset because, you know, the way Christian McCaffrey, you expect to have a good game. He has 43 rush yards versus the Browns. All right. And to that point, regardless, it was a close game. And even late in the game, ESPN Analytics had the 49ers at a 77.5 chance to win. That was in the first quarter. And then at the end of the game, the 49ers had a chance to win. And he missed a 41-yard, Jake Moody of the 49ers missed a 41-yard field goal that would have won the game. I consider that an upset personally. We're going to flip over to the Eagles game where, you know, it's kind of a last drive type of situation. It hits the 2-minute warning. And at the 2-minute warning, the Eagles had an 84.1% chance to win the game over the Jets. The first play after the 2-minute warning, the Jets intercepted the ball and return it to the 8-yard line of the Eagles. The very next play after that, Breece Hall 8-yard touchdown run to go ahead. And then right after that, Eagles turnover on downs with the chance to win the game. To me, that is an upset because if that's not an upset, what is? In my mind, because you could say upsets happen in NCAA basketball every year. That doesn't make Temple beating Houston any less surprising. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I would say upset to me is you have a clear in your mind at the start of the game. Yeah, this team's probably going to win this game. And then, of course, the gambling odds go to that. People like to gamble on the favorite. And then you have parlays broken. You have this breaking news aspect to it where it's like down goes number one. To me, that is the same thing in the NFL. That's what we've seen throughout you've made the point of it that yes, it does happen pretty often. But to me, that doesn't make it enough for me to discredit it as an upset.
I will raise you Now I forgot what I was gonna say. No. Okay.
Oh my God, he's on the ropes. He's on the ropes.
I will go back to the point that I remember I wanted to make. So for the 49ers Browns game, um, I'm going to look at like talent disparity here. The best player on the Browns is the best player at his position. The best player on the 49ers is the best player at his position. In a college football game, the best player on like a G5 team would probably not even like play for the best for a team that for a P5 team. Like there's talent in on both rosters. There's only 32 teams as opposed to 133, and every single team has these exact same resources. It's not there's no like no scale is being tipped there. It's not like you actually have an unfair advantage in any way. Everything is literally the same. And I think context matters in terms of how you're defining an upset. I think if you want to use gambling terms, I would kind of just consider that an underdog winning. I don't
Okay, fair.
I don't think it's a literal upset. Taking a look at spreads, I found the largest spread in NFL history is 28 points. The 2013 Broncos with Peyton Manning, who threw 55 touchdowns, versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. It was 28 points. Jacksonville covered the spread. It was 35-19. And then I got a lot of other games from recent history. And there is more recently, this is a more recent thing. The NFL, the teams are covering as opposed to the games I found a little or later, like previously. So that's kind of an interesting trend I noticed. However, if you look at the top 25 spreads in NFL history, not one team has ever won. I would consider that a pretty significant trend. When you're highly unfavored, you don't win in the NFL. And when I say highly unfavored, I mean it's not like you're like a 10-point favorite. I mean literally no one in the world thinks you're going to win the game, and they don't.
Okay, but for me, the issue with your argument, my thought is that what if that's the case? So what is an upset to you? Like break it down, definition, bare bones. What is it? What is an upset?
Significant talent disparity, significant resource disparity, and I think the nature of the structure of the NFL, there's 32 teams. There's 133 teams in college football, and they're broken up by tiers. There's, even each conference is considered Power 5 or Power 4 now. You could even rank those tiers by resources. And each team, you even get a top 25 designation in the country out of the 133 teams. And the context is important as well. Home field advantage exists. Injuries exist. Those also exist in the NFL, but I think mainly home field advantage is a significant one there as well. I'm not saying like Georgia Tech beating Florida State in Ireland.
Mhm.
I almost expected Georgia Tech to be able to win that game. I almost don't consider that an upset. I know they beat the number 10 team in the country, but I would dare to say that's not an upset in my eyes. I think a game like Appalachian State and Michigan, the first game ever to air on the Big Ten Network, that is an upset. I think college basketball, you see it in the NCAA tournament. If a 15 seed beats a 2 seed, they're favored by 25, 30 points. That's an upset. There's a significant resource disparity. There's a significant talent disparity. It has to be significant. I think that's kind of the thing to me. The context in which the teams are structured is
So
what
for you,
classifies an upset.
in the NBA, let's say, or any other sport than football, you would say NCAA is the only time there would be an actual upset because professional sports, all teams have the resources to, have talent essentially.
Yeah, I think in professional leagues, a legitimate upset does not exist.
So everything for that reason, you would consider every, underdog story as you would call it, just as that, not as an upset, more of an underdog story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the designation there's, maybe I'm making up a definition in my head, but I think just underdogs winning happens all the time in sports. I think it's a thing in professional sports as well. Is an upset an underdog? Yes. Is an underdog an upset? Is an underdog winning an upset? Not necessarily to me, because I think there's always a world where they can win because
Mhm.
you're presented with the same resources. These are they're your team is built of professional athletes. Your team is still built of the best college players in the world. And then on the flip side, in college, your team could be built of, an All American in your conference and a guy who would
Yeah,
never even sniff the professional league. And, you could
yeah.
beat a team of, a team littered with guys that will. Um, I don't know if I broke that down as like tight as I wanted to, but
That's concise. I get what
I
you're
think I
saying.
got my points across though.
I follow your point, and to me, I think what it comes down to is I'm gonna agree to disagree. You know what I mean? Whereas I can see
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
I can see how you differentiate an underdog and an upset, and I think that's an important thing to differentiate because in my mind, I build up at like the 2017-18 season, which we've already talked about. Now, shut up about the Eagles. I know. But the final four QBs left in that season were Tom Brady of the Patriots, Nick Foles, the backup quarterback of the Eagles, Case Keenum, who was the backup of the Vikings because Sam Bradford started that year, and
Robbie Bortles.
Blake Bortles
Robbie.
of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Jalen Ramsey was on that team, right? Was that his rookie year?
I think it was his second year.
Second year?
2018. Yeah, I think it was second year.
Whose rookie year? Was it Josh Allen of Jacksonville's rookie year? I think it was his rookie year.
I think he might have been the next year because I don't think he was on Saxonville.
Really?
I
He
think
wasn't?
I think it was Yannick Ngakwe's rookie year. Wait,
He might.
no. It wasn't. Because that was also his second year because Yannick Ngakwe was with Jalen Ramsey. I don't know if they had any rookies on that defense.
And then who was on the offense? Was there like DJ Chark?
I think Leonard Fournette was a rookie.
Leonard Fournette. Yes, you're
Yes.
right. That was his rookie year.
I think Leonard Fournette was a rookie.
I'm getting way too excited about
That team was so
that-
good, bro. I loved watching that fucking team.
bro. That team was the best team that was also not good enough. They did overperform. They
Oh, 100%.
they should not.
In the
They have
same
no business.
in the
an
same
AFC
light though,
team.
they should have won that game too. Cuz the fucking Miles Jack thing.
The refs.
Yeah.
I watched that game with my dad, and my dad was a big Patriots. Like he would cheer on the Patriots because he knew it'd piss me off. And I remember watching that game with my dad was the most insufferable thing ever
Oh god.
because I mean that Eagles Vikings NFC Championship was pretty crazy because you have the Vikings coming off of a huge play to win the game in the divisional round. The Diggs sideline touchdown. The Minneapolis Miracle is still one of the biggest, coolest moments I've ever watched in NFL.
That game,
Um,
honestly, like in hindsight, that game for Minnesota must have been so draining because they were dominating the entire game, and then I think the Saints scored like 17 points in
like they came
in
back
like 8
late,
minutes. Yeah,
and then
and then
they-
just one
by
play and you win the
literally
game.
one missed tackle, one badly timed jump by who was that safety?
Marcus Williams, who's a really good player.
Yeah, that's also definitely a moment that haunts Williams. That has to be
I mean, he's like a
because he was young when that happened too, right?
I think that might have been his rookie year, to be completely.
I think it
honest with you.
was.
Like
I think that was
that
his
was
rookie year.
that was the Saints draft class that was like ungodly. It was like,
Yeah.
who was it? I think Michael Thomas was the year before, but it was like Alvin Kamara, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Williams. I think Marshawn Lattimore. I'm missing a couple too. Even like that
Marshawn
draft class was
Lattimore.
literally the best draft class ever, probably.
Yeah, that was.
It's
a
like
really
all
good
all
one.
pros. You drafted like 5 all pros in one draft.
Yeah. Wow. No, that was. I feel bad for Williams because that was a tough play. But anyways, then Vikings go into Philly.
and get smashed.
They get the first touchdown of the game,
And
then it was a pick six that completely
Patrick Robinson.
shifted
Patrick
the
Robinson.
entire game on its head, flipped the whole thing upside down. And then, I mean, I've seen interviews of some of the Vikings players that were like, that was probably like it was a big proof to them of what having home field advantage in January means in the NFL, because so many players from the I'm not just talking up Philly right now. This is a real thing that I've seen. I promise. They talked about the link just being buzzing the entire game, and that does affect players in the NFL still. When you have a crazy crowd like that does affect players. And I said all this to say I don't think that it's fair to discredit home field advantage in professional leagues versus college.
Sorry to interrupt. I would say
No,
that
go ahead.
it is entirely like, if I could scale it, like it increases on the power scale as soon as the playoffs hit. Because if you have a good home field advantage in the playoffs, it's invaluable. If you have like if you have a good home field advantage in the regular season, like that's good. You still need to win games on the road to be a good team. But if you have a good home field advantage in the playoffs, like you're probably not losing. And then if you just have like a middling home field advantage and you like somehow win your division, so you play the home games, like you could easily get bounced by a wild card team who's good on the road. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of half sold on the upsets thing. I'm half in, half out. I get what you're saying, but I don't know if personally I consider that enough to deem it. I think the strongest point is just the talent disparity. I think that is the best point.
I literally am not going to debate you on you disagreeing with me, because it's probably the most reasonable take of all time.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. It's just what you consider. We'll put up a poll.
Yeah,
because I think it's very fair to agree to disagree, and I think it's something that it's just, what do you consider? So we'll put up a poll, and you let us know. Do upsets happen in the NFL? Do upsets happen in any league? Do they happen in the NBA? Do they happen in the MLB? Do they happen in soccer?
Because hear me out on this one.
Okay.
Was TCU a 20-point underdog in that game? They beat Michigan. I feel like it was like 20 and a half.
I don't know. I don't remember the odds. I can maybe find it.
Because there has never been a 20-point underdog to win in the NFL. And guess what? There's a 20-point underdog that won in the college football playoff. That's like, and it's not like TCU's a slouch for resources, but I think it shows you how big the gap can be, even between, a Michigan to a TCU to, any G5 team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell, even a Boise State, who's a really good, G5 school, and they have more resources than other people. It doesn't compare to TCU, who's been in the Big 12 for decades.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is a very fun debate, but it's one of those never-ending ones, because it's an opinion thing more than a right or wrong
It's
answer.
like a completely reasonable opinion.
Yeah.
There's opinions that are wrong. I don't think you could say, at least your side, there's no way you could say you're wrong. I think I could kind of understand disagreeing with my side more than anything else, but I think
the perspective you give
take.
is very good. I think the perspective you give is very good, because I will say you also know how to argue. I'm arguing with someone who knows how to talk. Not a lot of people know how to do that, and I think there's a lot of people that if they had to give the same argument you just gave, I would destroy.
I wish I knew how to talk way better, because my argument would have been a lot more compelling. Because, I feel like I had a good argument, and man, I was sputtering a little bit, but I got my points across.
No, I thought you gave a good point, and I think you know what argument to give. You gotta give it perspective, and I think that was a very fun conversation. I've been looking forward to it all week since you texted me. you texted me saying it was like, "Hey, do you think upsets happen in the NFL?" And I'm like, "I do. I do think they happen." And you said no, and we immediately decided to put a
Nah.
pin in it.
Nah.
We immediately. I think that was
Yeah.
the best topic of discussion for us today.
All right, so I briefly mentioned the college football playoff, tying it back to the upsets topic question. I made a quick seed prediction for the college football playoff. I'm going to run them by Danny. I also did not include a few teams that I could easily see fitting on here. I was racking my head around this for a hot minute the other night. And I'm not the biggest fan of my own. I don't know if I'll ever be the biggest fan of my own predictions just because
You are your own biggest critic.
I hate.
We know that.
I honestly don't like making predictions at all. It pains me deeply. I'll make stat predictions though for God knows what reason, even though those are shooting. It's not shooting fish in a barrel. It's shooting fish in the ocean from the shoreline. Okay. Number 1 seed, Georgia.
Fair. I think that's a good pick.
I think that's
like
the biggest given ever. Number 2 seed, Ohio State. Keep in mind, the top 4 seeds are division winners.
Yeah.
Number 3 seed is my Big 12 champion. And I picked Kansas as my Big 12 champ.
Okay.
Jalen Daniels, if he can stay healthy, that guy is so good. He was preseason Big 12 Player of the Year last year, and then he just literally could not stay healthy. Lance Leopold knows how to coach. He knows how to win. If Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, I like Kansas a lot.
How far would you have them going?
I mean, I could
In
see
the
them.
playoff.
I could literally see them losing to the 6 or 11 seed that they would play.
Okay. I agree with that.
4 seed is my ACC champ, and that was Clemson.
Okay. So you do have Clemson winning ACC.
Not very inspiringly though.
Okay. I agree.
My 5 seed is Oregon.
That's a very good pick. I agree fully with that pick.
My 6 seed is Ole Miss. I mean, their transfer class is ridiculous.
I like Ole Miss.
They're gonna miss Quinshon Judkins a lot, but yeah, they are loaded. My 7 seed is Texas. Hook 'em. My 8 seed is Utah, who could have easily been my Big 12 champ, but I don't know if they have enough offense for college football. I know their defense is always elite, and they get Cam Rising back, but I just don't know if they have enough. 9 seed is I couldn't hold them out. My next 2 seeds are quarterback wide receiver combinations and basically nothing else. I got Missouri at 9 with Brady Cook and Luther Burden, and I got Arizona at 10 with Noah Fafita and Tet McMillan. And then 11 seed, talked about it before. I have Notre Dame, unfortunately. I just don't think they can't.
I don't think they'll miss.
I was about to say a crazy double negative. I don't think they will miss the playoff in really any circumstance because you really have the top 11 to make it. The teams that I did not mention that could either for the ACC, I had only one team no matter what. I don't think 2 teams will make it from the ACC. My winners were Clemson, which I picked to win, Miami, who I am not sold on with coaching, and Mario Cristobal. And my sleeper pick would be Virginia Tech, who I think is a very, very good team. I just couldn't pick them to do it. And I couldn't pick them to make the top 12 either.
Did you mention Alabama at all?
And then, I was going to circle back to that. I picked 4 SEC schools, and I did not land on Alabama.
You didn't. You don't think
they would be like literally the first team out?
Okay. How about? Did you say LSU?
I did not. I don't think they have it.
Okay.
I don't think Nussmeier has it. I don't think they have the playmakers.
Wait,
to
did you
replace-
say that's a big one? Did you say Michigan? You think?
No, I'm out.
Okay.
I'm out on Michigan. I don't think
Alright.
Sharon Moore's a very good coach. They lost a lot. I don't think they'll be bad. I think they'll hang around the top 20. I don't think they're a college football playoff team.
Okay.
Same thing with Penn State. Drew Aller is just not inspiring to me whatsoever. And then
You missed it.
the 12 seed, my 12 seed is the G5 conference winner. And I picked Boise State because they're in the best G5 conference in the Mountain West. And I think they will win it. But this was actually like the thing I had the toughest time with. My number 2 pick was South Florida out of the American Conference. They were really good down the stretch last year. It was the first season where they've had a good year in ages. They absolutely destroyed Syracuse in their bowl game. I'm pretty high on South Florida. My next pick for that would be Liberty in the Conference USA. They got Caden Salter and Quentin Cooley at quarterback and running back, one of the best backfields in the country. And they play Oregon in a bowl game last year and get slammed. I feel like they did.
I don't remember.
I think they did. They're good enough to get there again. I don't know. I wonder if like voter fatigue would exist there just because they got absolutely railed by Oregon last year when they played the New Year's Six Bowl. And then the 2 other teams I mentioned were Appalachian State and Tulane. I don't know how seriously contenders they are, but Appalachian State is in the Sun Belt, so I just added another conference in there. And
App State.
I
What
like
do they?
Tulane.
What do they play again? Can you remind me?
Sun Belt?
No. Where are they? Are they in North Carolina?
Yeah, Boone, North Carolina.
Boone,
Boone,
North Carolina. Shout out Boone, North Carolina. That's how I want to end that college football segment. Shout out Boone, North Carolina.
I think my natty pick is Oregon, by the way. I'll throw that in too. I won't do like a whole
I
bracket.
love that
but
pick. I love that pick, and
I think my natty pick's Oregon.
I agree with that pick.
Interesting enough, I don't know if you care, but I picked Ohio State to win the Big Ten because I don't think Oregon would just come in and win the Big Ten in their first year. But I don't think Ohio State can win the big game, so I think they're going to lose. I think Oregon can take it all the way in the playoff. I just don't. I think Oregon could do it. I just don't see them winning the Big Ten in their first year in the conference.
If they did, would you consider it an upset?
No.
No, but you would be upset. I would be upset for you.
I'd be a little upset.
Guess that depends on your definition. I'm just fucking with you. You gotta have some fun. Shout out Boone, North Carolina. Shout out
Jeez.
Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Boone, North Carolina.
Shout out
is so aesthetically pleasing. Have you seen pictures of their football field or baseball field in
Boone?
the fall? Yeah.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
my God, bro.
Yeah. Shout out Kensington, North Philadelphia. Shout out Xfinity Live in South Philadelphia.
Xfinity Live.
And shout out to those are my shout outs. That's my roll call. And I think I named 5 towns, 5 cities.
Yes.
All right. So it's time for our top 5s. This week, I'm making the top 5.
Yes, you
Ryan
are.
has no idea what it is.
Our weekly
So
traditions.
this week's top 5 is going to be a little bit more broad. I want top 5 sports.
Okay. Easy enough.
Top 5 sports finals.
Finals.
I just changed my mind in real time. You just watched me change my
Are
mind.
you saying like specific game that happened or just like ranking the game itself?
I want events. So I want Super Bowl.
Okay.
I want March Madness final.
Right,
I
right.
want World Series. And if it's like something that if it's for baseball or basketball professionally, I want Game 7 NBA finals.
Okay.
And I want Game 7 World Series.
Right.
Stuff like that. World Cup final.
Yeah. All right. I'm with that. That's fun.
I think that'll be fun. I've very much enjoyed the conversation we've had today. This was a very fun episode too.
The start of the week, I kind of thought this was going to be a barren episode, and here we are, well over an hour.
Yeah, I was thinking it was gonna be like 30 to 45 minutes, and
Yeah.
then we yapped and yapped and yapped.
It
and
filled out pretty nicely throughout the week too, with some news for both of our teams, and
a lot of movement. Yeah.
yeah. And next week, we're I will mention we're pre-recording the following week, at sometime throughout this week, so that will be before any college football games are played. That'll be before any NFL games are played. Just an interest, just a thing I think was significant to note. So we're gonna go through NFL preseason stuff. This was a lot of college football. Next week will be a lot of NFL, mainly NFL. So
I love the NFL. I can't wait for Eagles. I can't wait for the
that first
games.
game of the year is gonna be electric. Chiefs and
I'm
Chiefs Ravens.
it's gonna hit me like crack. I'm so excited. I'm so juiced.
I am juiced as well.
Ryan, it's been real. I love talking to you. Amazing episode.
It's been
You
real.
know
It's
us.
been fun. It's been real fun.
It
It has been real fun.
This has been episode 2, bracket coverage, double covering, NCAA, NFL. That's all for today. Love you guys. Salute. Have a good week.
Peace.